Hi, Cancer, and welcome to your June 2021 monthly horoscope. It's almost your season. We're going to be in Gemini season for most of the month, but by the 20th, we'll get to your time. Let's start off with the fact that Mercury retrograde will have already begun. Will already be a thing by the time we get to June. And for you, Mercury retrograde is occurring in your 12th, which is not a very comfortable position for it. The 12th house rules mental health. It also rules things like ancestral trauma and everything that's buried and hidden, more or less. I have found as a practicing astrologer that Mercury retrograde in the 12th is definitely a time that you really kind of grapple with bringing things to the surface that you've long buried that affect thought patterns more than anything. It could very well be a time that a lot of like murky stuff that you don't want to deal with comes to the surface. Could also be a time that ghosts from your past who are associated with or bring up those feelings could very well come into play, even if it's just not seeing that person for a while and they show up in the algorithm on a social media platform, what may be. Just seeing kind of their profile might trigger something in you. And I want to encourage you to really steadfastly embrace and dive into confronting whatever feelings or patterns of thought are there, especially given the fact that Mercury retrograde is about revisiting, rethinking, thinking, and communicating, which are Mercury ruled themes. I will also note that the eclipse on the 10th, which is a pretty potent eclipse, is occurring in this house as well. So there could be a big break or a big shift in regards to how you deal with all of that stuff that is buried. It could be a big breakthrough time for you, or it could be a time, it's very uncomfortable, to be totally honest with you. I will say from the high end of the spectrum, it is very much about evolving. If you think about the caterpillar, for example, when it becomes the butterfly, it has to go into that cocoon where its skeleton is rearranged. So if this month, and especially around the 10th, which is the eclipse, I would argue, eclipses can be felt weeks in advance and weeks after. So this substantial period of time is very uncomfortable in confronting all of those murky feelings. Really embody the butterfly mindset, which is like, in order to become the butterfly, you got to rearrange your skeleton in that cocoon. And you are a beautiful butterfly. I also want to note that Venus will be moving into Cancer, which is your sign in the first house. So props to you guys. Venus is known as the lesser benefic and is very much tied to values and worthiness. And so this is a time through dealing with all of that ish that we talked about that you can really reinforce or strengthen how you feel of value, your worthiness, your value systems in general. I think that it's very important around this time that you are mindful about the energy of your environment. I'm saying this actually in every single monthly, that the Cancer archetype and Venus in Cancer is very much prone to be extra affected by their environments, and whether on a very subliminal level or they're just like super emotionally intuitive and aware of it, it is very much a thing for the Cancer archetype. So I strongly recommend looking into feng shui, looking into the ways in which you can allow for your environments to be most conducive to your mental health, given all of the transits in your 12th house. I would also ask if you already have an existing sanctuary space. This is something in my practice when I see strong 12th house placements or 12th house transits, I inquire about, given the 12th house has to do with what's hidden. And a sanctuary space is a space that is yours, that other people can't just readily go to without you allowing them into. It's a place that you really focus on self-care and mental health. For the Cancers out there, strongly recommend trying to cultivate that space. And if you live in an environment that you can't just have a whole room be that, I recommend, maybe make it the bathtub, or make it your bed itself, and no one is allowed to be on the bed with you. Find some way to cultivate some little nook or cranny that is a sanctuary space, and that will pay dividends for you. Some other good news: on the 20th of June, it is Cancer season. It is your time to shine, kind of literally, because the sun rules how we seek to shine. For the sun in the first house, it is once again another emphasis on how you navigate life on your sense of self, the ways in which you either honor or dishonor yourself. It's very much like a light is shining on you. And so there is a lot of potency around how you just navigate life and how that's either positive or deleterious to your overall sense of self. Definitely a good time to celebrate your birthday. So, I hope you're able to do something fun or something to honor yourself around that date. Also, if you already have an astrologer, take a look at your solar return chart and take a look at, see sort of what the overarching themes for the year ahead might be. I think that could be very conducive, especially given that the sun is going to be in the same house as Venus, both in your first house, very conducive in tied to how, like, your sense of values, how you feel of value. It could be very good to kind of vision ahead and take a look at the year and what you seek to accomplish. Mars and Leo will be in your second. So, while it's very important to honor yourself and treat yourself on your birthday, I do want you to be mindful around spending. Mars in the second is typically associated, especially from like a medieval standpoint, as like burning a hole in your wallet or your bank account. So just don't spend too extravagantly with this transit. And to confirm, Mars in Leo, Mars will enter Leo on the 11th. So it'll be in your first house for 11 days, and then it will transition into your second house. So just be mindful of around spending for those 6 weeks until Mars moves into Virgo. That would be your month ahead. I'm very excited for your ability to be tackling some serious, tough issues because you're really embodying that butterfly mentality. Also, happy solar return if that occurs, the last 10 days of June. If not, happy solar return in July.